Hey there, here's a quick note before we begin. You can support the podcast by downloading, sharing, or checking with my favorite hiking gear at justhike.com. Let's hit the trail. Welcome back to the Just Hyke Podcast, where we talk about movement, mindset, and the journeys that happen one step at a time on the trail and in life. I'm your host, Melanie, and today's episode is one of those conversations that feels like you're hiking alongside a friend. I'm joined by Tami Brooks, the inspiring voice behind 52 Hikes, 52 Weeks. Tami set out on a bold and meaningful journey, committing to hike 52 different places in 52 weeks, and what started as a challenge turned into a powerful season of growth, reflection, and adventure. Tami shares the highs and the hard moments and the lessons she learned along the way, including her unforgettable final hike, the attempt to do a rim-to-rim at the Grand Canyon. This is a conversation about more than hiking. It is about consistency over perfection, saying yes to the journey even when you don't have it all figured out, and discovering what's possible when you keep putting one foot in front of the other. Whether you're training for a big hike, dreaming about your next adventure, or just looking for motivation to get outside and move your body, you're going to love this episode. So lace up your boots, grab a water, and join me as we hit the trail with Tami Brooks from 52 Hikes, 52 Weeks. So how are you?
I'm doing well. How are you?
I'm good. Thank you. So tell me about you and tell me about the book.
Okay. Well, it all goes hand in hand. So the way the book came about in 2016, my son had an internship in Los Angeles. And so we lived in North Alabama at the time. And we drove him out there because you have to have a car in Los Angeles. My daughter, my son, and I, we drove out there and then we were going to fly back. But on the way, we stopped at the Grand Canyon. You know, we made all those Highway 40 road stops. So we stopped there and we only had an hour or two to spend. So we really just got to look at it. But in the little shuttle bus that goes from trailhead to trailhead, this older couple, older than me anyway, got on the bus and they just were frazzled and dusty and dirty. And they had thrown their backpack down on the ground. And I had seen people wearing t-shirts that said, "I hiked rim to rim." So I didn't really know what that was, but could kind of put it together. So they started telling us that that's what they had done. Anyway, long story short, a lot of things happened, but I just couldn't get it out of my mind. Even when I was a month later at home, I was like, I want to do that. But the twist is I literally had never hiked anywhere before in my life. So
That's
I
awesome.
yeah. Sometimes something just gets stuck in your craw. You can't give it up.
So you got Grand Canyon on your mind. You had never hiked before.
Hiked.
And then
So
what?
I went to the Google machine
Nice.
and kind of, I was aware of the Phantom Ranch down at the bottom. So I thought,
Right?
well, stay down there. Well, if you've ever been there, you know the reservations are like a year in advance.
For sure.
So I made reservations. A friend said she was going to go with me, which was very surprising because she also was not a hiker or anything like that. But to prepare, and she was wearing a boot. I forgot that part, like not a Jimmy Choo boot, an orthopedic boot.
Okay.
Yeah.
But she had a year.
So I thought, well, how am I going to start? What am I going to do
Right.
to get prepared for this? So I was kind of Googling around and doing different things. And I found an article by a journalist in North Georgia, and she had hiked the same trail every week for a year. And I thought, well, that's kind of neat. So she sort of documented like the way it had changed, rain or shine, no matter what the weather was. So I started thinking, well, I should do something like that, but I don't want to do the same trail every week. I would rather do a different one.
Sure.
So I made a self-imposed rule for myself that it was going to be a different trail, which was a little problematic after, because you're going to have to start traveling to get to some of these trails.
Yeah, especially every week, right? Like that's a big, because there's only so many trails within your vicinity of a day hike, right? After that, you got to start traveling. Well, that's exciting.
It was exciting. Things kind of worked out through the whole year. It was almost magical because so many things happened to sort of facilitate that. I ended up leaving my job and going out on my own and doing marketing. And I worked with a lot of tourism people. That gave me the opportunity to travel out more because I could work remotely a lot. My husband started traveling. I lumped along with him. It was just crazy the whole year, but ultimately ended up with me doing my Grand Canyon. And here I am. So I obviously made it. But if you were to read the book, you will find that mistakes were made. I'll just tell you that because I didn't know what I was doing.
What do you think your biggest mistake was? Like, what's at the top of your mind right now?
Well, maybe the scariest mistake was
Okay.
this because I went by myself and I had found this trail in North Alabama and had to drive down a dirt road for 5 miles to get to the trailhead. It was just out in the middle of nowhere. It was a beautiful fall day and walking around, da 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 da. And I tripped and fell. I didn't hurt myself, but it did scare me because I thought, what if I had? I'd never really thought of that, which seems like the obvious thing to think of, right? But
For some people, that's one of their biggest concerns.
it is.
Yeah.
And they're not wrong. So I mean, no,
Always have a plan.
always have a plan. I had no plan and no one knew where I was. I thought, what if I had fallen? What if I'd twisted my ankle, broke my leg or something?
Yeah.
And I'm not talking about something crazy. A lot of people are worried, I think, about things like the most extreme thing that could
For
ever
sure.
happen.
Oh, yeah. Yeah. They're
Yes.
concerned that they're going to get murdered. Yeah.
Yes,
Yeah.
yes. I tell people all the time, look, if anything, bears, alligators, fill in the blank, whatever you're afraid of, if they wanted to be getting people, they'd be getting people all the time.
That's
Because
right.
you're no
And they're
match
not.
for a bear or a gator or something. I mean, they'd just be doing it. But anyway, so that day I kind of fell and I was fine. But it did really scare me and really made me think. So it was a foolish mistake.
There you go.
It's like a really bad idea to not tell people where you're going. So from that day forward, I would always take a picture of the trailhead, like the
Yeah.
map, text my husband and say, here's my planned route. And then that way, if you don't turn up at some point, then at least they know where to look.
That's a
But
very good safety observation, really. Just, know your plan. And that's part of the
yeah,
leave no trace rules, right? Is, have a plan. What are you gonna do if you do get into trouble? Have a map so that you're not going off trail. Let someone know where you're going.
right.
All of those things.
It's good to go with a partner, but I ended up going alone by myself a lot.
And that,
So
that can happen, right? Because not everybody has the same schedule or the same drive that you have. You had a goal that,
yeah, when you
and
get into higher mileages, people are like, yeah, I'm not doing that.
that's right. Well, you start getting into the athletic pursuit, right?
Right.
You have to start dialing in your nutrition and your sleep and your, getting those miles in and recovery. And sometimes it's painful doing all those miles.
It is. It can,
Yeah.
yeah. And so the other mistake, I think my rookiest mistake was overpacking.
Oh,
But
goodness.
but the very first hike I went on was a first day hike, and I could have lived off that food for a month, and just all the stuff I had, and it was literally like a 5 mile hike. I don't know. It was ridiculous how much food I brought.
I recently came out with a book. It's called Sidewalk to Summit. One of the chapters in the book talks about packing your fears. And
Yes.
so sometimes, kind of look at what you're packing, and it's like some of us pack enough food for a month, and, we're only going for a couple of days, or even just a day hike. You
Yes.
don't need a lot. It's interesting.
It is. That's a good expression. I had a ranger tell me one time, he said, and you've probably heard this before, you can live 3 minutes without oxygen, 3 hours without shelter, 3 days without water, and 3 weeks without food. So pack accordingly.
Plan your water sources. That's probably the most important, right?
Yeah, the water is,
Oh, yeah.
yeah,
Yeah.
the water, that's the issue on that, isn't it? The
That's the
water.
biggest thing. You're either carrying a lot of water, depending
Yeah.
on where your next water source is, or you're planning where the water sources are. Have more water sources than others. Water's the biggest thing for sure.
It is for
Yeah.
sure.
Yeah. So speaking of water, so when you're out on the trails, do you typically carry your water or have water sources on the trail, or do you filter, or a combination of all of them?
A combination of all of them.
Yeah.
So doing this back in when I first started that whole first year, I just carried all the water that I had because
Gotcha.
at the time I would have told you that I didn't want to spend the night outside and I would never go backpacking or camping, which would
Right.
be a big lie, but I was wrong, I guess. But, I just carried water, like the refillable bottle, or just multiple water bottles because there, a lot of times wasn't places to refill. But now I do a little bit of both, just depending on where I'm going.
Good. So a little more, I guess, confidence in your skills, right?
Yeah.
You
When
learn, and you learn that as you go.
You do learn it as you
Yeah.
go. And,
Yeah.
people I feel like hikers in the hiking community are some of the most generous people in the world. And most of the time, people are really happy to help you and share their knowledge and stuff. So
Yeah.
I've
Yeah.
had a lot of people give me a lot of tips and kind of,
That-
and I think sometimes they're probably like, look at this poor lady. We got to do something.
She needs help.
She needs some assistance.
Great.
It is just walking.
What year did you do the Grand Canyon? Your rim to rim the first time?
Yes.
And how old were you when you did it?
So I turned 50 in January.
Nice.
So I came late to this whole situation, which now it's going to be. So now we're going into 2026. I was just thinking about this before I hopped on with you. And I thought next year is like my 10th anniversary of all that.
Wow. That's
No,
cool.
I need to think of something
Yeah.
to be acknowledged.
Come to Kilimanjaro with me. I'm doing Kilimanjaro again, October 2026.
Are you really?
Uh-huh.
Well, and you've done it before.
Uh-huh. This will be my fourth.
How do you do personally with elevation up high?
So like going from sea level.
Is it difficult for you? I don't do great with elevation.
One, you can train for it a little bit. If you start to acclimate to the heat and humidity I'm in the Houston area.
I'm like East Texas or West Louisiana, depending on which way you look at it. I'm in Tyler, so
okay. Beautiful. I love Tyler. Nice. So the heat and humidity of our area has a similar physiological response on our bodies as what high altitude does. And so if you're able to get out during the summer and slowly kind of build up your tolerance to being in the heat and humidity, then you may do better at higher elevations. Now, in addition to that, for Kilimanjaro specifically, the guides always recommend that you take Diamox. And so Diamox helps it's a prescription, you have to get it from your doctor.
Right.
But it helps your blood absorb oxygen better so that it delivers it to your body more efficiently. So that's what Diamox does. And so we use quite a bit of it when you're going on the higher elevations. And then the other thing is acclimating slowly. So one of the sayings that they have on Kilimanjaro on the mountain is poli poli, which is slow, slow. And so it's almost painful how slow it is sometimes.
Oh.
If you like nature, you like taking pictures of flowers, you like scenic overlooks, just take your time. It's not a rush up to the top. It takes about 6 days to get up to the top. And it's just slow and controlled. And every day is about acclimating on the mountain. Yeah. You can think about it.
Because I know that that's a big peak that doesn't require technical.
Correct.
Climbing,
It's 19,320 feet, and it is not a technical climb. It's a hike. You just have to get yourself a winter jacket and a ski hat. I'll tell you the rest. It'll be all right.
I'm not worried about all that. I know, but even when I got back from a big road trip and we were in Utah and Colorado and did all the things. And, so everything was at least 8,000 feet and sometimes 10 or 12.
And how were you there?
Well, we left after 10 days. So I guess it got better as it went along.
See, for some people, if it's really altitude sickness, for some people, it'll get worse. And then the only cure is to come down.
Right.
Yeah.
Not altitude sickness. It's just really sucking wind.
Yeah.
You just take like 4 steps and my legs, nothing was tired.
Right.
It's just, you just feel like you're not getting the air. So,
gotcha. Yeah. So with that knowledge, you'll be fine.
Okay.
But with the caveat of saying you have to train, get your hikes in. It's a lot of up, it is a mountain and it's 7 days going up a mountain. So it's a lot of up, stair climbing, lunges, squats, that sort of thing. Get out onto the trails that have some hills.
I know that's hard. Where do you do that in Houston? On the treadmill?
Treadmill. Yeah, treadmill's the worst thing. We have, so where I'm at, I have the Lone Star hiking trail. And
Uh-huh.
so there's one section of the Lone Star hiking trail that has these creek crossings. It's
Okay.
called Four Notch Loop, and it's about a
I
10
know
mile
that.
loop. Yeah.
I've been there. Hmm.
Nice. So it's a 10-mile loop and it has like 23 creek crossings or
Yeah.
something. And so that one actually really is great because it has some distance in there and then it has the challenges of the ups and
Right.
downs. So that's
Right.
great training. And then just any sort of hill that you can find in the area, going up and down. I call it hill training. Sometimes I'll go to the high school stadium and I'll go
Yeah,
like once a week for 6 weeks, just working on those stairs and those bleachers. And it sucks, but you
it
just
does.
try to get as fun as you can.
I did that when I was doing my Grand Canyon thing. I would go
Oh,
to
yeah.
some stairs at a stadium and just kind of go up and
Yep.
down for, or if you can listen to a good book or,
Well, and so it's good training for when you are at a mountain or at a difficult place on your hike, and you just kind of have to get into this mindset of gratitude, I guess, or whatever you want to do. Just get into that mental game of, okay, I can just get through this, right?
it is, it is. I do feel like, and I think Kilimanjaro would be the same way. It's so
It is.
beautiful at these places that
Hmm.
if you were doing that somewhere ugly or like the stairs, if you were just, you know what I mean? Like it takes your mind off of it a little bit anyway.
Yeah.
Because it's just so beautiful. And like you said, you're just grateful to even be in such a magnificent place. I
Yes.
think people are.
So tell me what prompted you to write the book?
Okay. Well, during that whole year, and this kind of started my whole writing thing, an editor at a local newspaper where we lived at the time, they did a regional magazine, and she called me one day and she said, I want you to write an article about all these trails. We're going to do an outdoor issue, and we want you to write the article about all
Oh,
the trails.
fun.
It was really fun. It was kind of scary because I thought, well, I'm not really a professional writer, and what am I going to do? And she's like, but you're such a good storyteller. Just write it down. I said, but what if it? She said, oh, honey, I'm an editor. That's what I'm for. She said, don't worry about all that. Like if this is right or wrong. So that gave me some confidence. And from
Nice.
there, I started writing some content for other tourism agencies and different places. And then I got a little column in a newspaper. So things just started snowballing. But in between all this time, all of my friends and my husband, they're like, oh, you should write a book. You should write a book about this. And I thought, oh, I don't know. I don't know. And anyway, it took me like 8 years or 9 years to do it, but I finally did.
Good for you.
Writing a book is fun, but is hard.
Absolutely. And
It,
you kind of have to stay on top of yourself, right? Like, perseverance, just like climbing any mountain or doing any hiking trail, it's that dedication and that perseverance and the keep on going through it. Do you think, so it brings me to the thought, do you think that what you learned on the hiking trails helped you with that stick with it attitude to keep it going?
I think that one thing I learned during my hiking was that I always thought everything was easy for other people. Like
Me
if
too.
you know what I mean, like if you were a good hiker, whatever that's supposed to mean, you were good at something that somehow that was easy for you. It
Mm-hmm.
wasn't easy for me. But I think that I just learned that people have sort of learned to sit with discomfort and you have
Hmm.
these little growing pains, and I don't think it's easy for them. I'm sure it was easier for someone who was fitter or more experienced than it was for me, but I don't think anybody has probably climbed Mount Kilimanjaro or Mount Everest or the Grand Canyon or any of these things and said, oh, well, that was easy.
Not.
I hope not. When I first started looking, so when I first went online and into these groups and stuff about the Grand Canyon and how to train for it,
Hmm.
and now there's a group for everything now, and so you can
Uh-huh.
go. Sometimes you get good advice, and sometimes, yeah, I don't know. But there were so many people that had they did just done phenomenal things, and they were talking about how hard it is, and they've done an Ironman, or they've done this, or they've done that. And I thought, oh my God, if it's hard for them, what chance is it that I would ever have it? But again, and so they're not saying it's easy. I think that was part of that whole learning that they just put their head down and they go. You've probably heard that term when people say, well, just embrace the suck. I think you might have said something similar to that a little bit a while ago. You're
Sometimes you
gonna,
just have to embrace it and just, it's that mental mindset and that
yeah.
perseverance to just get you through.
But and it really is a metaphor for life. I mean, there's so many metaphors for life just on the trail. I think it's
Hmm.
hard. Sometimes it's easy, but it's beautiful. And then you make it. So yeah, I
Yes.
think that did help. It really was empowering for me. And I would encourage everybody, and especially women, because I think a lot of women just are afraid or worried to kind of take that first step, and not even necessarily for hiking. Stepping outside of your comfort zone is it's
Absolutely.
challenging. It's hard. It's
It's challenging and it's scary, right? And
scary.
I want to jump back a little bit to what you
Okay.
said in regards to, let's say, hikers or being successful. We think that, I think when we're a beginner, we think
Uh-huh.
that the ones who are successful, who are, let's say, have done it or have done it multiple times or are experienced hikers and they look like they just know what they're doing, we have this assumption as a beginner that they were like that all the time, right? But really, they were you however many years ago. And everybody has to start somewhere. Nobody is great at anything when they come out of
Good.
the womb, let's say. Everybody has growing pains. And
Right.
it's interesting because I used to think that too. I used to think success was, it's like plunk, you're there, you're successful. And it's like, hang on, no, that's not true. We have all these obstacles, we have all these roadblocks, we have trips and falls and missed navigation and things like that. So it's just a learning process.
It
Yep.
is. And
Yeah,
if nothing else, that's usually the stuff that gives you the best story.
that's true. So, what do you think some of the challenges, or what were some of your biggest challenges early on? Other than you mentioned you had to drive to different trailheads because you wanted 52 different places. That's a big
And
challenge in itself.
I would caution people to think twice if they, or at least be mobile.
Right. See, but what was your drive to stick to that? Because I can imagine someone goes out there and says, I'm going to do hike someplace else every week. And then for some people, they would say, after, let's say, 3 months of that, it's like, dang, I'm going to miss this week. Did you ever miss any week?
I don't think I did miss any weeks. I might have done like Saturday and Sunday, you know what I mean? But I didn't miss any weeks. So I did them.
Wow, good for you.
And I'm a big quitter, or I was like, and I talk about that in my story. So I don't know what it was about this because trust me, I wanted to quit a million times. And even the second time, on the first day hike that I went, it was starting to rain. I had posted on social media, I'm doing this
Mhm.
first day hike, and then all these people were going to come with me. And then one by one, I'm not coming or blah, blah, blah. It was kind of cold and rainy and drizzly that day. Normally on January 1st, I'm just sitting on the couch drinking coffee and eating cinnamon rolls and watching the Rose Parade or something like that. So I started driving and then some rain came down and I thought, oh, I'm not going to go. It's too cold because it was unusually cold there in North. It just all the excuses, all the things.
Yeah.
I really feel like this is probably a universal truth. I am my own biggest obstacle. So
Yes, we are.
just
Mhm.
our own biggest loss. But then I went and I didn't even really love it. Right about that whole first day hike. When I was leaving, I talked about how I was thinking as I was driving down the mountain, am I going to be sore tomorrow? Am I going to be this? And what I was really thinking was, am I going to be able to convince myself to like this? Because I didn't know. I don't know. I had mixed feelings about it.
I bet. I bet.
It was cold and wet and rainy, but
And you pushed through it.
I
Good.
but I did try to quit a million times and I don't know what it was about this. And I'll be honest with you, and this is even I'm somewhat ashamed to admit it. When I finally made it out to the Grand Canyon, and spoiler alert, my friend ended up not going. So and then that was going to be, I mean, I kind of suspected she wasn't going to go for a long
Okay.
time, but I never said anything because I really did in the back of my mind. I thought, that would be the perfect, like if she doesn't go, then nobody would blame me for not going.
The very
I mean,
first time I went to Kilimanjaro, I had to go
yeah,
solo. I went
yeah.
solo.
Oh, see, and
Hmm.
so I don't know if you tried to talk yourself out of it or into it, and I thought that's my ace in the hole. I can do. But then I decided to just go and do it. But even the day before my hike, I was standing on the rim of the Grand Canyon, just looking down, and I thought, What was I thinking? This is the worst idea I've ever had in my life.
Yeah,
And
but
then
you were prepared. You were
I was
prepared to hit.
scared. And we're going to get to that. Then I started getting scared. And I'm like, I don't think I can do it. I don't think I can do it.
Mm,
And I thought, well, no one's here. What if no one will know if I did it or not. And then I was so filled with shame by even thinking that I was like, what if I just flip the script and for once in my life, trust the training and trust my ability and just do it. Just
good
do
for
it.
you. I'm so proud of you.
And once you get to that sort of revelation in your mind,
Absolutely.
the whole world changes. I'm as prepared as I can be. I used the popular trails. So it was in December. They're not crowded per se, but there's people there. And it's the
Sure.
same trails that the mule trains go up and down.
Yeah, they're well traveled.
Yeah,
Yeah.
whatever. We'll just let fate. And obviously here I am. So,
There you go.
well,
What did you find was harder, going down or coming back up?
you know, they're hard. It's hard. It's just a different kind of hard, but
Yes.
really more surprised going down.
Oh yeah.
I went down, and I will back up to say this. This is how inexperienced I was because when I had my reservation at Phantom Ranch in December, I called the girl at the hotels that are on the rim, and I said, I'm going rim to rim in December, and she's like, No, you're not, because they closed the whole north rim.
Oh
So
yeah.
a real rim to rim is like they go down the south rim and come up the north rim.
Right.
So I went down and came. I went down the South Kaibab Trail and came up
Uh-huh.
the Brown Trail,
Oh yeah. Yep.
which was
Very
so
nice.
it's down and up. I mean, it's basically the
Yes.
same. But she
Nice.
was devastated when she said, "No, you're not." I'm like, "Oh no!" But she said, "Well, just do this other thing." But
Well, good for you for doing it, right? Because
it
for some
is
people, they might say,
well. Screw it. I'm not going to do it. Right. It's not meant to be. I'm not going to do
right.
it. So we did make that kind of pivot. And then the South Kaibab Trail is a steeper trail. So it's about 5,000 feet of elevation descent in probably 7 miles. So
It's a lot of down. Yeah.
it is.
Switchbacks and
And
your
your
knees and
knees and
your quad.
yeah. And so then you have to hike up the next
Mhm.
day. If I ever did it again, I would have spent 2 days down at the bottom, I
Oh
think,
yeah.
because you didn't have really a chance to explore around down there as much as I would have, but you don't know what you don't know. So
Right. Yep.
I guess coming out was harder only because well, it was the second half. The first half I felt pretty good. I thought, well, this is going all right. But the steepest part is the second half coming out on the Bright Angel
Oh,
Trail.
like from what is that called? They called it,
Right.
is it the gardens? Like the
Yes, in
Havasu
garden.
Gardens, I think, and then up to
So
3 Mile.
up is
Yeah.
just it's
Yeah.
all up.
Up.
That's super up. And there was ice like the last mile and a
For
half.
sure. It's December in the Grand Canyon. Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
So, and that was something else. So, another mistake I made because when I was in Flagstaff and I was leaving for the Grand Canyon the next day, you have to call into the backcountry people and just confirm you're coming. And so the ranger said, All right, well, we'll see you tomorrow. And do you have any questions? But the way he said it, I thought, oh, I should have a question about what is the question? Because I felt like, what's the question? And
Question is, how's the
goes,
weather?
yeah, after the pregnant pause, well, if you were curious about the trail conditions, you would probably want to know that there's ice for the first mile and a half. And he
I
said, so you should bring Yak's tracks. And I didn't even know what that was. But anyway, so, in Flagstaff, everybody,
yeah.
everybody but me knew what they were. So it was fine.
Were you able to find something
Yeah.
or did
Yeah.
you? Good.
So I got some in Flagstaff, but then it was funny because when I got to the Grand Canyon, I went to the visitor center.
Oh, nice.
Lots of people don't know what they are until I was,
Well, I
and
think it was probably cheaper to get them in Flagstaff, maybe.
I'm sure it was.
Got to know what you're doing. Yeah.
Yeah, it was super fun.
Oh, that's so cool. So what about food? Like, what do you like to pack for snacks or what's your favorite? Do you have a hydration mix that you like? Let's talk a little bit about food and nutrition when you're
You
on the
know,
trail.
I usually just drink water. I
Okay.
mostly stick to water. I do some of the liquid IVs sometimes. I'll usually
Hmm.
bring water, like a bottle that I do the liquid IV in. And
Yeah,
I use a hydration bladder. Not everybody likes them, but I like mine. I'll drink more water
me
there
too.
instead of having to, yeah.
I find the only issue with a hydration pack is that you really don't know how much you've been drinking until it's empty, right?
Yes, that's True.
So I prefer to have my hydration pack so that I can drink regularly, right? And
Hmm.
then I also like to have like a backup bottle or two in my pack so that
Right.
if I do drink too much, then I still have probably about 30,
Yeah.
60 ounces, depending on the trail. If I can refill all the time, then not a big deal.
Yeah, it always depends on where you're going and
Yeah.
how. But I always bring extra, more than I think I'm going to need. Not like that first time. But what I mean,
Like, 2-gallon jugs strapped to your
yeah,
backpack.
gallons and 87 peanut butter and jelly sandwiches. So for nutrition, I really like for day hikes. I don't know how healthy this is or not, but I don't think it's terrible. I like the Uncrustable sandwiches.
Hmm.
But it's like it's almost like kids' food.
Uh-huh.
But they're frozen. So I put them in my pack, and then by the time I'm hungry, they've kind of thawed out
Yep.
and they get soggy. I don't know what they probably do something horrible to them
I'm sure they do.
or something awful, but they're not soggy. And I feel like at least you get that hit of protein and they're pretty calorie dense and they're in a little package. I don't know.
Yep.
It works pretty well.
I love my go-to is peanut butter and jelly all the
It
way. Yeah,
is, right? And
absolutely.
maybe a banana, but that can get a little beaten up.
On the
Apple.
trail. So was there one hike, let's say out of all your hikes, that truly changed you? Like I know that one in Alabama where it's like where you tripped and it's like, oh, maybe I need to do something a little bit differently. Is there any other hikes that pop into your mind?
During that year, of course, the Grand Canyon hike, I felt like I mean, that was sort of the pinnacle. I really felt I almost felt like I was a different person. Like the same person that went down was not the same person that came out, because it was the first time that I'd really followed through with something and set that goal and then did it. And like I said, sort of put my fears aside. But since then, I did have the opportunity to hike in the White Mountains in New Hampshire. And we did the Presidential Traverse. If you're probably familiar with that, and we
No,
stayed.
I'm not. Tell me
I
about
was
that one.
Okay, well, it's awesome. So there's 40 something huts run
Oh,
by the
okay.
Appalachian Mountain Club, Appalachian Trail people in
Okay.
the White Mountains of New Hampshire. And so the Appalachian Trail runs right through it. And there's one thing you can do called the Presidential Traverse, because they're all named after presidents. There's Monroe, Washington, blah, blah, blah. But we ended up at Mount Washington, which is the spot where they've had the world's worst weather recorded. They had like
Wow.
5-mile-an-hour winds or something. It's a very well-known hike. Even though those peaks are only about, I mean, the highest one is like 6,000 feet, and the other ones are 4,500. I'm not saying that's not nothing, but the people of New Hampshire apparently did not discover the switchback. So they don't know about that there. And it's so rocky. And not like Texas rocky, it's like if you've seen a wash that all the rocks have tumbled down, that's
Hmm.
the trail.
Have you been on the Ouachita Trail?
A
It
very
runs
small
from
portion.
Oklahoma to
Yeah,
Arkansas. Have you been on
only a
that
very
one?
small portion of it.
There's one section on there that's like
Okay.
that, where it's
Okay.
just boulders and you have to try to navigate through these crazy boulders. Yeah.
And your foot and your hand placement. I'm almost 6 feet tall, and there's rungs sometimes and ladders, ropes. It just was crazy. And we stayed in the huts for 4 nights.
Nice.
So backpacking, but not really. I would say it's slack packing for sure because you stay in the hut, so you have a cot. You just have to bring your sleeping bag, and they have food that's phenomenal. I don't know how they do it, but
Oh, so you can purchase food at the different hut.
yes, you can.
Nice.
We get dinner and breakfast with your fee for the hut.
Okay.
And it's awesome. It's like 4 courses. I mean, it's crazy good. These
Nice.
kids that work up there, you'll have to look into this. You'd be so impressed
Yeah.
by the kids. It's mostly college kids that work there because it's only open during the summer because of the
Gotcha.
weather.
Yeah.
They have to go get the food. They have like big backboards. Some of them will carry 125 pounds on their
Oh my
backs, and
gosh.
they're going up and down those trails. I don't know how they do it. I just, I guess they've lived there their whole life, so they just know. We ended at Mount Washington, which is sort of the pinnacle summit that everybody wants to do. We were worried. The weather was very bad. We didn't know if we were going to be able to do it or not. And we might have had to go back down because you don't want to be up there with the lightning and everything else. But it did clear off. And one of the guys that was there, he said, "You've got a couple hours, go." And it's only a mile and a half, but it's a very hard mile and a half. So he said, just go. And we did. And it was fun. And right when we got there, the clouds kind of cleared and you could see the weather observation tower. So you knew you were there. And we had arranged to ride. They have a cog train that goes up and down Mount Washington. So we had bought a ticket to go down on it.
Okay. Reward after the.
It was. And it was ceremonious because the man that was the conductor and he did the tour, he was a hiker. So he was telling all the people on the train, and he said, oh, they've hiked, they've done this. And he was pointing out where we'd spent the night before. And then like all the people on the train applauded and everything. I don't know. It just felt it was
very prestigious. Yeah.
It just was fun. It was a fitting into all of it. But that was because it was so hard. It was so hard. And there was one time on that trail, and this kind of circles back around to the hydration, because this is when I first started using electrolytes because, I just thought, oh, I don't know, water's probably enough, right? You just need water when you're hiking and doing all this stuff. And one day during that adventure, I just had to sit down, you just hit the wall. And my friend had hit the wall earlier, but then she was okay. And then I did. And so when we got to the hut that night, these huts let people who are hiking the Appalachian Trail, if they get there early enough and agree to help, they can sleep like on the floor there when they come through. So this gal she had started in Georgia in February, and this was June. So here she was in New Hampshire. She was almost done. And I was telling her what happened. And she said, oh no, you need the electrolyte. She said, I thought the same thing. When I started my Appalachian Trail hike, I thought, well, water is all I need. I don't need all this other, I need water. But she said, it made all the difference in the world. I had thought about because, sometimes people take the electrolytes and they've like done one lap at the track. And I thought, I'm not trying to.
No, you're right. Yeah.
I thought, I don't feel like I need a Gatorade after I've just done, 30 minutes at the park or what have you. But I think, in those, because that's a lot of work.
It is a lot of work. It is looking at multiple hours and multiple days. You need to dial in that nutrition and electrolytes as part of it.
Well, I was converted after that because I felt way better. It really did help.
I know so speaking of electrolytes, there's many ladies who are getting ready for the Mammoth March in Dinosaur Valley State Park in February. It's coming up. And I was just chatting with one of the volunteers who volunteers and now works with the Mammoth March people. And we were talking about nutrition and hydration, electrolytes, and just the importance of it. And
that is, I did that a couple years ago in Alabama.
Oh, okay. Nice.
So it was fun. It's fun. And it's a good way. I was telling someone the other day, I said, that's a really nice way if you want to see if you can do that long distance, because it's so supported.
Good. Yeah.
You have the food and aid stations all over the place. So you don't have to worry about what you're carrying quite as much.
You don't have to carry 45 peanut butter and jelly sandwiches.
No, you don't. I mean, you can, but there's plenty of food. And if you can't do it, they have the vans at the places and can take you back to the park. So it's a very low stakes way to try to do a high mileage if you're so inclined.
Yes. And I love that you said that because I think it's great to get out there and be supported on a hike like that. Yeah, for sure. Yeah. And then their main demographic. So I was really curious about what their main demographic was. And they have just about 2,000 people registered for this event. They've spread it over 2 days now. So it's a Saturday and a Sunday. And their average age is 48-year-old female is their average age.
Yeah, like that. I meet a lot of people that are my age and even in their 50s, sort of that age group, because I think your kids are typically grown or going off to college or what have you. And so you don't have all those demands on your time as if you had a young family.
The kids are grown. We've done our job raising the kids. We've been tied to their schedules. And now it's like, okay, now I want to go on an adventure, right?
Yeah.
And then getting out, for me, when I get out onto a nature trail, even if it's a day hike, even someplace close, like the Lone Star Hiking Trail where I'm at, I feel like I've gone on a mini adventure.
Yes.
Yeah.
And it's so good. It's so, not even just the exercise and the adventure and all. I find it so peaceful and calming. And even when I go by, I like to go. I like to go with friends, but I do like to go by myself because I feel even writing creatively, I don't know, it spurs something in your mind. And sometimes if I have a problem when I get on the trail, I have, if not a solution, at least some possible solutions when I get off, because you just have that free time with your brain kind of roaming around out there. And I put my cell phone when I step on a trail, I put my phone on airplane.
Yeah.
I know, I mean, a lot of people don't, and maybe most people don't, but I just I have it if I want to take a picture, and I have it if I need it for some reason,
Mm.
but you don't have any cell service wherever you're going anyway, or a
Sometimes
lot,
you don't, right? And you need to save your battery life.
because people
Yeah.
are like, no, because all that roaming and you're just roaming and it's just using up your battery.
Yeah.
And you don't want to, I hiked with somebody, and we went to the South Rim in Big Bend, which is a fabulous hike. And so, it's pretty strenuous, and you get up there and it's so peaceful, and there's the peregrine falcons are going around, and then her phone rang.
Man.
Her husband asked him where the mayonnaise was or something, but it kind of takes you out of the moment.
Yeah,
Yeah,
it does.
I prefer just the no phones and don't you want to get away from that a little bit? I do.
Mm,
So pervasive in our lives now. It's just screens everywhere.
absolutely. Yeah, it never used to be like that, right? Like when we stepped away from the house, there was no phone, right?
I know. And people didn't think you like something horrible had befallen you if you didn't call them back in 10
Seconds, yeah.
they just thought you were busy. And we can go back to that. I read the other day, I was reading an article, and they talked about how some of the younger generations now are there's almost starting to be a little bit of a backlash against the screens with these kids that have grown up with them. And, it's just been, I mean, let's call it what it is. It's almost constant advertising to you.
Absolutely, it is. Yeah.
And so
Yeah.
they're trying to get away from that. So maybe they'll sort of get outdoors too. I think everybody should just go outside.
Yes, absolutely.
They'll find that people are nicer than they think they are, and it's pleasant and it's beautiful. It may be all the things that we get so worked up about when you're just being bombarded with the news and these algorithms is maybe not so much when you just get
Just
out there.
unplug and get out there. Let's get back to the book for a minute. What do you think was more challenging, completing the hikes or writing about them?
I think maybe writing the book was harder.
Yeah.
It's hard writing, and you've written one, so
Hmm.
writing a book is hard. I told you earlier, everybody was encouraging me, and I stopped and started a couple times. Here was what my problem was, and since you've written, you probably will say, oh, yeah, that makes sense. I felt like I tried to start at the beginning, and I could never get past it because I was self-editing and just going back over and over and over and over again. I couldn't keep going. And then I talked to several professional writers, and they were like, look, you just have to write, you just have to do it. You can't keep going back and thinking about it. And I was concerned with a word count. I had like a word count in my mind that I thought it had to be, which that all went out the window eventually. So what I ended up doing was I started writing about when I left for the Grand Canyon, my favorite part to write
Yeah.
about. So
Yeah.
I did that to the end, and then I sort of went back from there, if that makes sense. I almost reversed engineered it. But by doing that, it got me unstuck out of that cycle of like, well, maybe I should say this, and maybe it'll never be exactly right. I could read something in there right now and think, oh,
Could have
maybe
wrote
I
that
said
differently.
this.
Yeah. I
That's
think that
just,
goes back to like a lot of our negative self-talk that we have
yeah.
going on in our heads. And, we talk ourselves out of things, right?
Mhm.
So good for you for sticking with the book.
You and
Yeah.
the whole, and I talk about this in the book too, the whole imposter syndrome. And
Mm,
I feel like I'm sure men have it too. I think it's worse for women. I don't. My husband, and this is just in my own marriage, he never thinks he can't do anything. And I thought, you know what I'm saying? But how do you get that kind of confidence, especially athletically? Like he doesn't even really consider the possibility of failure. And I thought, how could, and I don't, there's issues with that too.
hmm.
But how can we meet in the middle? Because I always think, oh, this whole thing it was all I could think about was how I wasn't going to be able to do it and how that was consuming me. And oh, I don't think I can do it. How do you get in the middle there? It's really hard to overcome that. I
That's
can't.
interesting. I think men and women we're just built differently,
We
right?
are.
We're built differently.
And we're
The
taught different too.
Yeah, I think for women, I think, or at least me, I can speak for me, I
Mhm.
think, or I used to think it needed to be perfect right off the bat. And
Yes.
then I had to have everything together and everything figured out. And then I would never start because I was a beginner. And so I was never allowing myself to be a beginner and to learn.
Hmm.
Whereas I think for some reason, some guys, they think, "Well, it doesn't matter if I'm a beginner, I'm just going to go do it." And it's like,
Right.
okay. So I
And I'm
think
going to be great.
maybe they think that up,
I
or
don't
maybe
know.
they don't care if they're great or not.
Or maybe, yeah, maybe. I don't know. I wish I could have a little more of that.
Yeah.
You know,
Just,
I still struggle with that a little bit to a certain, and
mm-hmm.
it's sort of the idea of what is a real hiker? You
Uh,
know,
yeah.
like when will I be a real hiker? I kind of struggled with that, and I don't even, what does that even mean?
Yeah, it doesn't mean anything.
It doesn't mean anything. And why do we allow other people or other entities to define those types of things, like what that is? Yeah.
Start somewhere and
You have to start somewhere. I
yeah.
had a man tell me when I first started, and I mean, he'd been all over the place, was
Mm-hmm.
very, very experienced. And he said, said, I'd probably put it like this: take your first step, beginner, second step, advance. He said, and third step, now you're expert. Three steps, that's it. One, two, three, now you're an expert. And
One,
I
two,
thought,
three. Now you're an expert. I like
I
that.
think it's a way oversimplification, but why not? I mean, we're
Right.
not, if you're wanting to do some technical crazy thing like hike Everest or Summit Mount,
Thing.
that is a
Yeah.
whole different thing.
Yeah.
But for most hiking, and that was another thing that I really wanted to do with my book because I've read a lot of stories and kind of outdoor and adventure type stories that people have usually done, like the whole Appalachian Trail or something like that. And they're good and I love them. But how many of us are going to do that? Anybody could do what I did. Anybody could do that. If I could do it, anybody literally could do it. People always say, oh, if I could do it, I could do it. But not all of us can take 6 months off of work or want to. So there's other, but literally anybody could do this. I hope that a friend of mine read it and she said, and I got an email from a lady that I didn't know. And she said, I'm not particularly into hiking. She said, but I did find inspiration just because that would be the point. Like, I think
Yes.
find the thing you think you can't do or the thing that calls to you for whatever reason. And it might just be something that you think, this is so weird. Why can't I get this out of my head? And you should listen to whatever that is, do it.
Agreed.
It is hard to step outside of your comfort zone. And we all fear failing, but what if you did? I mean, so you just get up and keep going or try again?
Right. Yeah. One step at a time, right? And not every path to whatever your summit is or to whatever your calling is. That path is never straightforward, right? So there's always obstacles, there's always twists and turns, there's always hopefully a switchback, but
Right.
sometimes it's straight
Hopefully,
up.
unless you're in New Hampshire, then you're just
But
going to have to suck it up.
right. And sometimes you just have to suck it up and figure out that path. Allow yourself to just start and figure it out as you go.
And give yourself the grace you would give a friend. If your friend
Exactly.
was trying to do this, you wouldn't be like, well, you're a loser. You're never going to be able to do this again.
Maybe you should quit.
I know you should just quit. You should just forget it. But you would never say that. I mean, you wouldn't even say that to a stranger. You would say that to nobody,
Correct.
let alone your friends. So why do we just hold ourselves to such a ridiculously high standard? I don't know.
Negative self-talk, all that self-doubt, it's terrible.
So once you get something that really makes you feel kind of empowered like that, it's just such a great feeling. It really is a great feeling. It is life changing, I think. And it wasn't just that Grand Canyon hike. It was just sort of a accumulation of everything that happened over the year.
That's great. And
Yeah.
then once you reach that goal, then it's like, okay, I did this. And so now you can reach other goals,
That's
right?
exactly because I can look back at that all the time. Like if I think when I start down that spiral, why can't do this? And not even necessarily hiking, just whatever, fill in the blank, writing the book or trying for this or doing that. And I think, well, if I did that, surely I can do this. It really does give you a lot of confidence.
What do
Yeah.
you hope readers take away after finishing your 52 weeks, 52 hikes book?
I hope that they
Yeah.
will listen to whatever it is that's calling them in life and whatever they want to do. And just the hardest part to me is deciding to go. You just have to go. And then kind of everything else will fall in place. You just prepare, you have your goal and your plan, and you work toward it.
Navigate those obstacles.
Yes, and
Yeah.
try to shut that voice off in your head.
Oh my goodness, right?
Step one, doing the thing that you think you can't do.
But
You're
you
gonna,
want to do. You
yes,
have to want to do that thing.
and even if it's crazy and weird, I think, because like I said, I wasn't even really outdoorsy. I didn't grow up in an outdoorsy. I just wasn't. And so it seemed like a weird thing to want to do, but I just couldn't stop thinking about it. And so now, now I do it all the time. It's really changed the way I travel and everything, because now we're hiking all over the place.
So cool.
Things in a different light.
Get out of the cities, go see the nature,
Yeah.
the beauty of the great outdoors. Yeah.
There are some beautiful places in this
There
world
are.
to get to.
That's right. So
Yeah.
where can listeners find your book and follow?
So you can find it anywhere books are sold, and you can just get it on Amazon. Good old Amazon's probably the easiest and fastest way to get it. I'm on all the social media, on Facebook, Instagram, all the good stuff. It's Tami Brooks or Tammy's Trippin'. That's kind of my more travel related, because I do a lot of travel writing.
Oh, nice. Tammy's
Trippin'. So, and it's Tami, which always it's kind of a weird, but it's Tammy's Trippin'.
P-I-N, Trippin.
Yep.
Tammy
Yeah.
Trippin. Gotcha.
Yes.
Okay, cool.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I'll include that in the show notes.
Great.
You just send me some links, and if you have a photograph that you prefer, send me that. So I saw something on the social media. You were talking about fish jerky or something. So what's your favorite trail snack other than peanut butter and jelly?
It is not fish jerky.
Tell me about the fish jerky.
Okay, when I was in Iceland, we visited Iceland. And so this fish jerky, we went in a grocery store there. It's a very, all the hiking in Iceland, there's lots of hiking and stuff.
It's beautiful. Yeah.
It is beautiful.
Yeah.
The fish jerky is a popular Icelandic hiking snack. So I bought a package of it and brought it back. And I didn't open it till I was on a backpacking trip on the Eagle Rock Loop. I told everybody, I said, I've got a surprise for you tonight around the fire. And so it was the fish jerky. We had so much fun with that jerky, though, because we would open it up somewhere, and then we met another group of backpackers. And we're like, you guys want to try some of the fish jerky? They took it. I said, now you have to keep it. So that fish jerky got passed all around the Eagle Rock Loop that week. So when you opened it, it was just,
oh my goodness. I would have been afraid of bears chasing me down for that fish jerky.
Yeah, it really, like, it tasted better than it smelled, but the bar was set very low. It was chalky. It wasn't good, but complete opposite of that. So I do like my Uncrustables, but if it's a junky trail snack, I like Oreo cookies. That's another thing. I don't ever eat them unless I'm backpacking. I feel like if I'm going to sleep on a pad,
you deserve to have an Oreo cookie.
Oreo, probably not a healthy attitude, but whatever.
That's okay. Hey, we all have our favorite things, right?
That's right.
What's another one? Are you in favor of hiking poles or no hiking poles? Where are you at?
I am half and half on that. So about halfway through my 52 weeks, because I always thought, oh, those look weird. Like that, what is all that? And then when I was coming down I tried them one time and I thought, I don't know about this. So I definitely used them when I did. If I'm going to be doing a lot of steep elevation gain and descent, or have a lot of water crossings, like at the Eagle Rock, I find those, I'm naturally clumsy, which was another reason why it was a bad idea for me never to tell people where I was going till I fell. I'm surprised it took me that long to fall, but it's nice for balance and that kind of thing. And if you're going up, do you use them?
I use one. I feel claustrophobic if I have two in my hands. I find it just gets too clunky for me. I use one all the time.
One sometimes, and I'll have two if I'm going to be going up and down. Like I said, I used them even at Grand Canyon. You can kind of stab them in and almost use your back.
Yeah.
Pull you up and propel you through. But they are a little clunky if you don't use them all the time. But if I'm just hardly ever here in Texas do I use them, because if we're just going and it's pretty flat, I don't. I find them more than helpful.
Is there anything else that you want to share or some sort of final encouragement to share with someone who's maybe standing at the trailhead of something new in their life?
Don't wait as long as I did to trust yourself and just go for it. Because I think if you're prepared, everything you want is on the other side of that fear. And if you can somehow find a way to put it down and put it in your rearview mirror and move forward, you'll be amazed at the possibility that comes before you.
As we wrap up today's episode, I hope Tami's story reminds us that you don't have to do everything all at once. You just have to keep showing up. Whether it's committing to one hike a week, taking your first step towards a bigger goal, or simply getting outside for a walk. Progress happens when we choose consistency over perfection. If you're looking for resources, training tips, or simple tools to support your journey, you can find everything at justhike.com, including the Just Hyke Trailmate. Thank you for spending part of your day with us here on the Just Hyke Podcast. If this episode inspired you, please share it with a friend, leave a review, and follow the show so you don't miss future conversations. Until next time, keep moving forward, keep exploring, and remember, every summit starts on the sidewalk.